Well, good evening. My name is Todd Bright. Welcome to All in Gestures Redline Live. This is where we have our feedback and Q&A session. So last week's session was a farmer. It was a farm girl, and it was really awesome. So we're going to see some drawings from that tonight. So first artist, Mr. Corey. Dude, I really like this drawing. She was holding something kind of heavy, and I think you got a nice lean to the body, and I thought that was really cool. And I just wanted to give you a thumbs up on this one. Really nice. I just thought it had a nice feeling to it. Proportions were good. This one too, I think we could have got a little bit more of a lean in there. She's holding like that big wash tub, right? And so I just wanted to lean it back a little bit more, just to get that feeling that she's holding something a little bit heavy. I feel like with that previous drawing, that worked out pretty well. With this one, I might lean her back just a little bit. And I know this was a pretty straightforward pose that the model gave us, so I don't want to go too crazy, but I think we could do that a little bit. Either she's sad or looking at something on the ground, whatever. But just to get that feeling of, maybe it doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds, right? But just to give it a little bit more weight. Okay, let's see here. And she had those big old gloves on. All right, there we go. Anywho, so yeah, just a little bit leaning back, just to kind of get that feeling of that weight. Okay, and I know she had some overalls on, and in this scene she had a flannel shirt over top, things like that. She had that wonderful hat. I like what you did with the hat. It's pretty cool, something like that. But anyway, that's all. There we go. Put that over yonder. All right, well this one, I feel like we got proportions got a little bit short on the legs. And the legs, I think, so this is a scene, a pose where the model was shoveling, like she was doing an action. And so much in gestures, we want to push actions, right? So you have this digging kind of thing. There should feel like there's some tension there. So sometimes, when you're picking your poses or whatever, even in a class like this or a workshop, just taking that model as a inspiration. You don't have to always do what you're told, right? Like copy the model. In fact, I try to discourage against that. But I do like, Corey, how you cleared the road there. You brought that shovel away from the foot, and that has a really nice clear staging. So I thought that was really good instinct. All right, I'm going to finish this one, and I'll check that chat real quick. She had that big old hat on. I kind of had to work with it or work around it, right? Big old farmer hat. That was pretty fun. Let's see here. So in this particular section, she didn't have on the flannel at this point. We just had the short sleeves, the overalls. So yeah, I might have tweak the legs a little bit just so they didn't get like too even. So I almost wanted to change them up just a little bit, just give some variance there, so you kind of get this feeling, this whatchamacallit, like the back going this way and this movement here. I mean, so much of this, especially with this action, like we want to draw action, right? With gesture, you want to get that feeling of movement and trying to find that rhythm to kind of point to that subject. That is what we're after a little bit. But I've seen some really cool stuff in your work lately, dude. So anywho, that's all. All right, moving on. All right, this is Mr. Luke's drawings. I see you over there in the member chat. What's up, dude? So Luke, this was funny. I liked your lady here, and I'll answer your question in a second, Dory. I just want to establish this. We'll get sketching. Try to multitask because I appreciate you guys being here. I like your little story here, Luke, of the pig running in, and it looks like the farmer's just like, hang on a second, no, you can't have this, That's really funny. So let's try to plus that a little. I think it's a great idea. Very cool. All right, come on. Okay, here we go. Dory asks, Todd, do you ever just go and observe people for research? I mean, not even draw? I've been considering going out and just sitting and soaking in all the characters to soak in all the visual information. I'll tell you what, people watching is really great. A lot of people like to go and just sit at cafes and people watch, take your book and essentially to me, I mean, if that's what you want to do, I say go for it. It could be really cool just to observe, and I like to do that with my sketch. Even sometimes I don't even get a lot of drawing in because I didn't really find anything that inspired me to drawing the perfect pose, or maybe there wasn't anything that was that interesting, but I was still taking in, trying to push those powers of observation. So the short answer is no, I don't generally do that. I always take a sketchbook, but sometimes I don't catch as many fish, but at least I threw the line in, right? building up those powers of observation. So Luke, as a drawing, I think, or as an idea, I think I want to mess with it. So let's mess just a little bit. I almost want to lean her in a little bit more, like, hey, pig, like really leaning in more, just to try that, almost like it's kind of like my precious, like she's pulling it in. But I almost wanted to get her a little bit more aggressive idea here. Say, hey, Hamlet, you can't do that. So maybe if that shovel is in the ground and that leg is up, I might put this leg down. And so picture this tub is in the foreground. I'll just go ahead and indicate that tub. But maybe if that shovel is still back there, you can have this nice stretch to her arm. We'll just leave it there, almost like, she's leaning in, So he's like leaning in more, all right? So let's see. So I might drop that knee that's behind the bucket there, or the wash basin, or slop feeder, trough, whatever. I like your chicken, by the way, dude. But again, I'm just pushing around the idea. So I love the idea, but I'm wondering how can we stage it better is what I really mean, okay? So, I might not even have the whole bucket covering her legs. Maybe it'd be better to move it like 3/4, or something like it's like 3/4 this way maybe, and the handle's here. I don't know. But just so it doesn't cover her whole body, but for the sake of time and all that, I'm just gonna leave it there. But all that to say, I kind of like her engaging a little bit more with your pig friend here. And maybe the pig, which he's great. He could be like looking up at her a little bit more. And he could still be crazy, like, yahoo, but maybe he's making eye contact with her, like, whoa. Or he could be like, whoa, like scared, like she means business, Anyway, that's all. And I leaned her down on this leg here. Hope you can see that behind my bucket here. But kind of brought that knee down just to mess with it. Because I think the idea is good, and maybe you thought of that later after you started the drawing. And just to lean it in, I just think that would be really fun. So that's all. All right, moving on. There's this one. This is our shoveling one. This one we just kind of did with Corey there. Let's see. Yeah, this was a tough one. All right, so I just want to mess with this a little bit. Let's see. All right, checking that chat there. Ron, if you're still here, have you ever done any apprenticeships or mentorships? I have done that. Milky Way boy. Hey, I see you over there in YouTube. You love people watching too. Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm telling you what, going out and people watching, just to get back to that real fast, it's great for even character design, just looking at all the different shapes and sizes and caricature that we all are, you can find some really great inspiration, It's good to observe people. People rock, man. All right, so with this one, it's probably more, let's see, I got out of it. I know our model was shoveling down. Yeah, I just feel like even the model, and I'm just going to show you, the model there was a nice straight to that arm and a bend to that arm, and there's some differences going on. And I feel like with some of the decisions here, everything's kind of bent, and I don't feel the tension of the energy. So we talk about opposite forces quite a bit, push and pull, squash and stretch, those opposing things, straights and curves, right? They create tension in a good way in a drawing, and they could really help direction and movement and things like that. And so when things are too even, there's something about it that could lose energy in the pose, right? And I'm tempted to bring the head down. This is not what the model was doing. Beyond the body there. I like that leg out, bent. You did another nice drawing though, Luke. I think it was either this pose or a similar pose, and then I saw you do a correction drawing, and it was spot on, man. It was really cool. I love that. It was very similar to this. I'm just gonna bring this out here. And there's something kind of cool, and sorry for the messiness here. Something pretty cool about bringing that head. It's gonna do a quick indication of hands and things beyond the body. I'm just trying to think a little theory here, but I think it's engaging her a little bit more in her thing, almost like the pig thing that was going on. It's like she's not back here, but she's engaged. I'll make her head, her hat a little smaller. So this is all experimentation. It's searching, it's finding the right pose, and so much of animation and illustration, this is what we do. We make thumbnails and things of all of the possibilities. I bend that leg this way this time, and see if we can get it out of the way of that shovel. Yeah, I tell you what, and sometimes it helps just to strike that pose yourself. Like get out of your, I'm talking to everybody, not just Luke, talking to myself. Like get out of our little seats, strike that pose, see how it feels. All right, that's all. Cool. All right, very good, Mr. Dude. Thank you for putting your work out. Luke has been with us for a long time, and he is, what do you call that? Somebody who works his butt off? Guess he's somebody who works his butt off. I guess that's what you call that. All right, so gotta take a drink of water. Who's here? All right, we got a question here from Instagram. Thank you for those of you who are just joining us from Instagram. Welcome. We're doing drawing feedback and Q&A tonight. So that's what. My name is Todd Bright. I'm a former Disney animator and current Disney Imagineer. I do concept art these days, and I teach gesture drawing. Yo, come to our class. It's awesome. Anyway, when drawing explorations for character design, sometimes I get stuck on choosing one particular look for my character to finalize the design. Yes, I think that coming back to researching, and really exploring and look at other styles that you like. And sometimes we have to go outside our own box and look at other styles. Like, if you're not into anime, like go check out anime. Or if you are, go look at some of the studios in Ireland do incredible work. Or go look at Bugs Bunny cartoons, and really consider different styles can help kind of loosen the chains a little. And to remember to really, when you're designing characters, to really consider who they are, and like ask a ton of questions. Are they old? Are they young? Are they angry? Are they light and happy? So, but I get it. It's easy to get in a rut, but that's when we got to research. And we were just talking about, based on Dory's question, right? The going out and observing people. That's why I like going out and drawing in the wild, man. Where's my sketchbook? There might not be this mind-blowing pose somebody's in, but I might draw them because they're so interesting looking, and try to draw that simple shapes. All right, this is Miss Sarah. Okay, here we go. So, very good. I think this is really nice, Sarah. The balance feels really good. I think you did a great job. Yeah, really nice. So, well, it seems like everybody went for this digging pose. That's really funny. Interesting. I like it. I might have cleared it up a little bit, Sarah, just to be nitpicky. But Sarah had a question about hats tonight. I'm going to see if I could address that, because I think your poses are really nice and clear. I mean, if I were to tweak a little bit, I might have brought this beyond her boot, even though the camera angle might have been like that, right? I might have freed it up from each other, just to clear the staging, but other than that, you know what I mean? So it's like on top of each other there, and like just to clear that area, if I were to shade it in, that whole thing, that silhouette, talk about that quite a bit, right? Silhouette, it's one of those things. All right, so your question about hats, and this was a big old hat. It was like totally covering the head a lot, like in this angle. I think you did was great, but just how you see the head as the form, and you're trying to wrap it around it, but it's not always, going that way for you. And I get that. And I could see where you drew through the head. It was great. Yeah, picking that eye line, the tilt of the head line. So here's those axes, right? So the eyes, that's the nose. In this case, it's like a 3/4 down, and I love how you move the hat out of the way of her face so we can see it, But yeah, and then just figuring out where that hat is usually around here, like it could be around the top of the forehead there. We have a nice circular hat here actually, and just kind of, you could even draw that line around if you wanted to, and then just think in 3 dimensions. So much, again, we push this a bit, we're talking about movement and ideas and getting form, all those things, but we also push form, right? So like if her hat, which is actually a pretty simple shape, it's wrapping around the head, the part that's closest to us, you're going to get more brim, that more of that area in the front, and as it goes away, it's going to get further back, right? Just like good old perspective, right? And that'll help sell a little bit more of that idea. Kind of slipping around here in my beak here, but all that to say, yeah, just consider that form like you're doing, and I think it just takes a little bit of practice. And sometimes you get crazy hats. I don't have one in front of me, but like a fedora, or cowboy hat, or then you have your baseball hat with the bill, right? And where that connects. Looks like Donald Duck kind of, right? So yeah, all that to say, just keep putting them on there. I think you did a pretty good job at it. All right, but yeah, just watch that perspective. Okay, moving on. RW. Okay, here we go. I really like this one. I thought this had a really nice feeling. The proportions were good, and I thought that there's just something about it. It's really nice, a nice feeling. It's really simple. Chalk this up for a win. Really cool. It's just a nice, easy feeling about it. Just kind of thinking. You could tell what she's doing. There's nothing major going on, you know. She's just like, kind of looking, and I just think it's a nice feeling with the line work and everything. So yeah, this one, let's see. I think she was like kind of tired or whatever. So personally, I might have. I remember her kind of the narrative behind this one was that she was really tired, right? And she's holding this wash basin, and it doesn't have to be a bazillion pounds, but last week one of our students, Scott, he goes to the mall and draws. Talk about people watching. He goes to the mall a lot and posts some really beautiful drawings. And last week we talked about one of his drawings on here about a baby on a mother's hip. And she used the hip to support the weight of the baby, right? And so that's what this kind of reminds me of. It's like I almost want to reverse that hip, right? And so she could kind of rest the weight. Because like when you really want to take a break, it's like you want to take the weight off of your normal muscle there. So you want to rest it on the hips, okay? And when you do that, that hip has to be grounded. So I'm going to put all the body weight on that hip, which means this hip will drop, right? It's that whole angles thing. So like that hip's going to go up, right? And let's see here. Let's say her hands wrapping around the other side of the basin, pretty much like you have it, right? Yeah, but I might draw through that just a little bit, just to keep myself thinking in 3 dimensions, just for the sake of a little bit of femininity. I think these angles for one got a little too even. I think that's what's going on here too. Is once you start getting into those even angles, that things start to flatten out a little bit. And whatchamacallit, but I was going to talk about the width. The width of the hips and the shoulders are about even here. And I will go ahead and pick one, and the fact that this is a female, there it is. I'm going to make her hips just a little wider, just a little bit, and a little narrower on the shoulders. And if for anything, just to break up that evenness. So yeah, anyway, that's all. I don't need to draw all the pieces and parts just so it doesn't like spear her foot if it was a shovel or what she was holding. But yeah, that's all. Okay. Yeah, just consider this is what I love about props. They can really add a lot to our storytelling, right? And when you consider the weight of the prop, or the temperature of it, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it heavy? Is it alive? Like whatever it is, it's like, how can you use that to push your storyline? Okay, and in this case, she's tired, and I'm going to use that. Okay, so that's all. Very good, very good. Alrighty, hang on one second. I'm going to get to the next thing here. Let me check that chat real quick. Put that over yonder. This was really cool. I just want to throw that out to RW. I remember this was probably our last pose, and I think the idea was it was like the end of the day, and I thought this was cool that you added in the wind and the hat blowing kind of vibes. Oh no, this was the actual pose. Okay, I got it. Well, you added the wind for sure to their jacket, and it just made it come alive. I thought that was a really good idea. But yeah, real quick here, and we'll get into our last artist. One quick thing. It's gonna tweak a little bit here. Yeah, I like how you brought her arm over here. I like that. I think we could mess a little bit with some structure here. Hang on one second. I think this leg got a little small. She had those big old boots on. Oh, but yeah, just nitpicking. But I like what you got here, especially with your breeze. That was a cool idea. Nice inspiration you had. I think that's the first time we've done overalls, or we just haven't done it in a long time. That was really fun. Very fun. Let's see. I was just messing with this pelvic area a little bit. Okay. So consider like the rib cage is up here, right? You got the chest. I know this is all baggy clothes and all that. And then your hip bones are going to be up here. And you get that cavity here. And then this is going to come out a little bit at an angle there. Maybe go back and look at that one if you want in the video. Okay. So just so you know, guys in gals over in Instagram and YouTube tonight. Thanks for joining us, by the way. We record all our sessions, so if you missed the live on Saturdays, everything's recorded. Yep, that's all. Yeah. Alrighty. All right, great job, RW. Cool. And Miss Cassie, really nice. I thought this was really nice and fun, really clear, very cartoony in a way, but I dig it. Really fun, cute. Here's our shovel one, and this is one you were wanting to talk about crouching. Let's see here. Let's see. Hang on 1 second. Let's see. Crouching one. The shovel one I think we did a lot of tonight. Yeah, I don't know about that arm on the inside. I was kind of digging the solutions of the shovel on the outside of the leg, but just to help with staging, but I don't know. Something interesting there. Okay, moving on, because you were asking about crouching poses. So this one, again with that pelvic area there, we could have this leg come out a little bit like this one. And I think you got your knee. Again, everything was pretty on top of each other here. There we go. And yeah, I think some of the proportions, it got a little flat, and the proportions got a little bit long, I think, in that thigh on this leg here. But we do have a nice overlap happening here we can take advantage of. Let's see here, kind of resting that leg. One thing that's kind of fun to look for is just how things react to form. In this case, her hand wrapping around her thigh there can really add a nice little thing, how it kind of reacts. And this is, clothing does that. In this case, her hand is wrapping around her thigh. Sometimes it's the little things can really sell believability. And I know we talk a lot about the big idea and movement and all those things. Very important, but details also can matter to sell that believability. And form is definitely a part of that. We talk about balance quite a bit, making sure you're balanced. I think your balance is pretty good, but I feel like we could do a little bit more with the structure there. All right. Anyway, that's all. I like your face there. Really, yeah. I won't mess with it. But that's all. Really nice stuff this week, Cassie. Really nice. Just kind of tweaking a little bit here and there. Just think three-dimensionally, right? Like with this one. Even though I love the simplicity of your drawings, which I think, and they're really sweet. They get a little graphic-y, and just taking a minute to really consider that three-dimensional form. But what's fun though is there's nothing stiff about your drawing. Like there's good movement there, and there's some life and energy, and so keep going. But I'm just trying to think, okay, thinking around, thinking a little bit of structure, adding that, and practicing that, adding that, practicing that, adding that, all that kind of rinse, cycle, repeat kind of thing. So yeah, just keep going. Gosh, really nice. Really consider it. I was just drawing this sleeve for a second. Sorry, not quite done babbling, I guess. This sleeve, and this is just a little thing, but it kind of falls in line with what we were just talking about. So like this sleeve here, you indicated it, and that's fine. But when you really consider wrapping around that form, okay, like her shoulders up here, she's got her arms draping over here with her glove. She's got this big glove on. You're drawing, right? That sleeve just wrapping around and draping down, because the gravity is it's gonna be tighter up here, but drape down here, So stuff like that, and going around your form, okay? So all that to say, sometimes that could help sell, like when there's things pulling down and weighting down, it could help sell a little bit of emotion too. So that's all. That was all I got. But yeah, really great work this week, guys. Very, very nice. Yeah, we'll see you Saturday. And again, I'm just going to throw it out there. Let's look at Mr. Doug's little announcement here one more time. Yeah, so please join us for a very special All in Gesture workshop this weekend. We're going to have a very incredible Imagineer, Doug Griffith, who is a 37-year veteran of Imagineering and specialized in audio animatronics. So we're going to learn about that and more about him and his story. And we're going to draw. So we're going to have a live model. We're going to do some drawings. I'm going to try to get Doug to draw and show us his stuff. But that's it. So that's it. You guys are awesome. That's all I got. I hope you guys have a good week and kick butt the rest of the week. Thanks for joining us over there and YouTube, Mr. Brown, I see you over there. And Ron Draws, thanks for participating and throwing some questions out our way. And there's some other ones there too. Who's over there? Who's over there? Anyway, so thank you guys. And again, we do this every Wednesday. So come and join us. Come draw with us every Saturday. All right. You guys have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.